Everyone knows Alexander the Great, but what if I told you that the real mastermind behind his success was his father? Philip II of Macedon wasn't just another king. He built an empire before his son ever set foot on a battlefield, transformed a backwater kingdom into the most powerful military force in Greece, created a new style of warfare, and set the stage for his son's legacy. But just as he prepared for his greatest campaign, everything fell apart. Philip was born in 382 BC in Macedonia, a kingdom that, at the time, was seen as a joke by powerful Greek city-states. To them, Macedonia was a land of barbarians and weak rulers, not a real player in Greek affairs. But Philip was about to change everything. Around 15 or 16 years old, Philip was sent to Thebes as a political hostage. Not as a prisoner in chains, but as part of a diplomatic agreement to keep Macedonia in check. It was a dangerous position, but also an opportunity for Philip, because while he was in Thebes, Philip wasn't just waiting to be ransomed back. He was watching, learning, and preparing, and he was learning from the best. Philip studied under Epaminondas, one of the greatest generals of the era. Epaminondas had revolutionized Greek warfare, and Philip was taking notes. At the time, most armies relied on the hoplite phalanx, a wall of heavily armored soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder, carrying large shields called haplons and 9-foot spears. It was a formation designed to be impenetrable, but it had its weaknesses. Philip saw how Epaminondas had modified the phalanx, making it more flexible, mobile, and lethal, and when Philip returned to Macedonia, he took these ideas one step further, and he created an absolute monster. Philip redesigned the phalanx from the ground up. He replaced the short spears with 18-foot pikes called sarissas, allowing soldiers to strike enemies before they could even get close. He lightened their shields, increasing their speed and mobility. He drilled his men relentlessly, turning them into a professional standing army, something almost unheard of in ancient Greece. And the result of all this? A deadly force that would dominate battlefields for decades. And Philip was about to put it to the test. In 359 BC, Macedonia was in chaos. Philip's older brother, King Perdiccas III, had been killed in battle, and Macedonia was on the verge of collapse. Enemies were circling and ready to carve up the kingdom. But Philip moved fast. Through bribery, marriage alliances, and military victories, he secured his power, and then he went on the offensive. Over 23 years, Philip led 22 military campaigns, only missing 1 year due to injury. And when I say campaign, I don't mean he was just riding around with the boys. Nope, Philip fought on the front lines, leading his men into the thick of battle. And he paid the price, suffering multiple wounds, including losing an eye. But it all led to his greatest victory, the Battle of Chaeronea. By 338 BC, Philip's power had grown too large to ignore. Athens and Thebes, yes, the same Thebes that had once held him hostage, were desperate to stop him. They formed a grand alliance of Greek city-states and met Philip on the battlefield of Chaeronea. They thought they could stop him, but they were wrong. To understand why, we need to pause and talk about how ancient battles actually worked. When phalanxes clashed, the entire army would naturally drift to the right because each soldier held this shield in their left arm and instinctively tried to stay behind the shield of the man next to him. The generals knew this, so they always put their best troops on the right flank. So when the two armies met, each side's strongest soldiers would fight their enemy's weakest. At Chaeronea, Philip did something different. Instead of following tradition, he put his best troops directly across from the Greek strongest forces. But that wasn't all. He reinforced that side with extra depth, creating a hammerhead formation designed to crush the enemy's best soldiers head-on. It was a massive gamble. If it had failed, his army would have collapsed, and he likely would have been killed along with many of his soldiers. But it didn't fail. Philip's forces smashed through the Greek lines, breaking their formation and destroying the alliance. By the end of the battle, Athens and Thebes were utterly defeated. Philip now ruled Greece. With Greece under his control, Philip had his next target in sight, Persia. For years he had planned an invasion, and now, with all of Greece under his command, he was finally ready. But then everything fell apart. On the night of his daughter's wedding, Philip had no idea he was taking part in his last celebration. He never saw the blade coming. One of his own bodyguards, Pausanias, suddenly rushed forward and stabbed him to death in front of the entire royal court, including his son, Alexander. But why? Some say Pausanias had a personal grudge. Some say he was hired by the Greeks. And some believe Olympias, Philip's wife and Alexander's mother, was behind it all. We may never know the truth, but what we do know is that with Philip dead, his 20-year-old son was now king. And that son, well, he goes on to become great. But Philip's story doesn't end there. In 1977, archaeologists discovered what they believed to be Philip's tomb in Virginia, Greece. Inside, they found a male skeleton with a distinctive eye injury. Remember, Philip lost his right eye in battle. gold engraved goods and purple fabrics that would indeed suggest that this was his final resting place. There is no doubt that Alexander was incredibly gifted and would go on to do incredible things. But Philip left him the best gift an aspiring world conqueror could ask for: the most advanced army the ancient world had ever seen. Without Philip, there is no Alexander the Great. So what do you think? Was Philip actually greater than Alexander? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more historical breakdowns.